Today we're going to be discussing Alzheimer's disease and dementia, what are the differences in them, and how they can be prevented throughout our lives just by simple things that we can incorporate daily. The first thing we're going to do is our first activity of an open discussion between the teacher and the students. The teacher will pose the question, do you know anyone who has been diagnosed with either Alzheimer's or dementia? From this, the answers that I'm looking for would include necessarily what the individual was diagnosed with, who was it in relation to the student, how did it affect that person, and how did it affect the student, what was done either to aid the situation or throughout the situation, and then what knowledge was gained through the experience and how that knowledge can be used to further help someone else down the road, or how it has been used to help someone. We would spend about 10 minutes doing this discussion to address linguistic as well as interpersonal multiple intelligences. From there, we would go into the beginning of our actual discussion of the key points, and the question would be, what is Alzheimer's? And here what I'm going to be discussing is how Alzheimer's affects a person, what it is. So it is a disease that affects the brain, and then different key points about it. So we would be discussing genetics concerning Alzheimer's, whether it is affected by age or not, which it is, the fact that Alzheimer's is a progressive disease, so it does worsen over time, and that there is currently no cure. So with there being no cure, the best thing to do is start taking preventative measures early on. Those measures will be discussed later on throughout the presentation. Side effects of Alzheimer's are memory loss, which can then further affect many different aspects of daily functioning. So in our first activity, what I would discuss to break the ice would be my situation with Alzheimer's and how the experience I had with it and how it intrigued me to learn more about the disease and what I can do to prevent it in the future or help others. And so with that, my great-grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and she lived with us. And over time, it progressively worsened. And with that, she eventually lost the ability to feed herself, to walk, and even to talk. And so she became completely bedfast and dependent on other people to take care of her. And with this, it really taught me, one, patience and how to work with someone who does have a either Alzheimer's or dementia, and what we can do to ease the situation for them as well as learn from the experience. So we'd spend about 10 minutes discussing what is Alzheimer's. From there we would go into what is dementia. And here we're really going to be focusing on the differences in Alzheimer's and dementia. The key difference is dementia is a disorder of the brain. Alzheimer's is a disease. Dementia, 60 to 80% of it is attributed to Alzheimer's. And so we would want students to be able to comprehend that dementia can be caused by Alzheimer's, but not necessarily is caused by Alzheimer's. The other 40 to 20% of that can be caused by injury, whether through car accidents or athletics, things of that nature, or by health situations such as strokes. And so with that, we would discuss those differences, and then we would go into how dementia, there is currently no cure for it, just as there is no cure for Alzheimer's. With the 60 to 80% that can be attributed to Alzheimer's, there are preventative measures that can be taken, but of course it's hard to take preventative measures other than just being safe and being cautious in these things that could be applied to like injury. So here we would also discuss the side effects of dementia, and there are memory loss and then even alterations to personality. So a person who has this disorder can, say if it was by injury or something of that nature, it can completely change their personality to something that they were not before. And we would spend about 10 minutes discussing what is dementia. So with these two different topics, the main point to get across to students is what are the differences in the two, and key facts of how to differentiate the two. From there, we would have our second activity, which is a video. Here we are trying to address the multiple intelligence of visual and spatial, so the video, musical, because the video does have music in it, and then as well as the naturalist, because throughout this video we're going to be learning about how Alzheimer's and dementia is affected by genetics, and how that will, different ways that are not medicinal, it can lead up to for preventative measures, which will lead us into our next point. For the video is about 14 minutes long, and after the video we would have a short, about 6-minute discussion of the video, about what the students learned from it, how it is related to the information we have already discussed, and what they feel personally. At least one student, I would like them to say what they gained from the video that is different than what they learned from our presentation previously on either what is dementia or what is Alzheimer's. From there, as the video kind of leads up into it, and we would head this direction with our discussion during that 6 minutes, we would go into preventative measures, and we would discuss the 6 different preventative measures for Alzheimer's disease as well as even dementia. And so with this, the 6 different measures are regular exercise, a healthy diet, mental stimulation, quality sleep, stress management, and an active social life. So with each of these, we would take about 10 minutes to discuss overall different ways that these can be incorporated into daily life. With regular exercise, we don't want to just focus on things like sports to be active, or necessarily going to the gym, but what we can do, other ways that we can stay active to help the body maintain functionality. And so with that, maybe even just walking daily or things like that, and get some feedback from the students about what they do to to continue and have exercise on a weekly basis, and how they can incorporate more of that into their daily life if they do have a busy schedule. Next, we would discuss a healthy diet, and with a healthy diet, we would I would take a little bit different turn on that in terms of things that we can add to our diet very easily that would help reduce the risk. So with that, maybe things such as probiotics that do have extra nutrients, or foods that have probiotics in them already that we may not think about, to help with to continue with preventative measures. From there, we would go into mental stimulation, so we would discuss different ways that the mind can stay active and what we can do to stimulate our mind on a daily basis, because everyone has those days where they come home from work and they're just exhausted and they want to sit back and watch TV. Well, that is okay every once in a while, but prolonged exposure to that is going to cause a decrease and a continual decrease in mental stimulation. So we'll want to discuss different ways that we can keep the mind active, whether through reading books or even things such as like crossword puzzles and things of that nature. Next, quality sleep, we'd be discussing what's appropriate to gain quality sleep. Stress management, we would discuss some different ways that we can reduce stress in our daily life, and different management styles that can help with that. And then our 6th point would be an active social life. And so with this, all of these things can be combined very easily in our daily life, and that is the point of this discussion for that period of 10 minutes, is how we can incorporate all these daily without making drastic changes to our everyday lives. And again, the multiple intelligences that we will be addressing throughout this presentation are, again, activity 1, linguistic and interpersonal, as we will be having a discussion, and we will be getting on that personal level so that students are comfortable discussing things with the professor as well as in front of their other students, and helping them kind of break the ice so that they can learn in a comfortable environment. And with activity 2, we're going to be addressing visual, musical, and naturalist. So with that, the video itself has one watching it addresses those who are visual, and then musical, it does have music in it, and then naturalist also, because it's going to be talking about the biological factors that are involved with dementia and Alzheimer's, and then that opens the door to our discussion on preventative measures, which then again would address the naturalist multiple intelligence. The very last thing that we're going to do throughout the class for the class is the last slide for the references throughout on the PowerPoint. It will also be provided to the students so that they have some resources that they can do some extra research themselves if they want to gain more knowledge, or in the future if they need a reference point to come back to learn more. So with that, that will conclude our discussion on Alzheimer's and dementia.